All right, the final topic from this section in the OpenStax PreCalculus book is exhibited here in example 1.38, where we're asked to find the absolute maxima and minima of a graph. Note that when we're asking about absolute maxima and minima, you'll see endpoints included, often, not always. When we're talking about relative minima or maximum, rarely, or at least not in this book, will you ever see a problem with an endpoint, because there's a little bit of ambiguity and it kind of depends on the author of a given text as to whether or not these are relative minima in this case. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. That's not what this is asking about. This is asking about absolute maxima and minima, which is just asking you what's the highest the graph ever gets and what's the lowest the graph ever gets. And so you can use the definitions, but my advice is to understand those concepts and then go back to the definitions and see how they apply. The highest this thing ever gets, it looks like is 16. The lowest this thing ever gets, it looks like is what, -10 here. That's it. That's the answer. Absolute max is 16. When it asks you what is the absolute max, it's asking you for the y coordinate, the highest this graph ever gets. This specific y coordinate happens twice. It looks like it happens at -2 and +2. I could add that parenthetically. But that's just for my own use. The answer to the question would be this 16 right here. The absolute max is 16. It occurs at these 2 points. Absolute max is 16. Absolute min? Just asking you what's the lowest the graph ever gets. And you're like, oh, right here, 0, right? No, because over here is lower than here. This would be a relative min, you're right, but you're wrong because that's not what it asked. It asked for an absolute min. The lowest the graph ever gets, that's this point right here. The absolute min, it appears to be -10. I guess you don't know that for sure, but it's some number between -8 and -12. It looks to me to be halfway between the two, so I'm going to call that -10. Might even write, if you were picky, absolute minimum appears to be -10. And that happens at x equals 3. But again, I'm just adding that parenthetically because the question doesn't ask me where is the absolute minimum. It asks me what is the absolute minimum, and the absolute minimum is -10.